Ramadan.
Welcome back to Salam Media. The time is 8:45 and you're still tuned into your favorite Ramadan companion. And this is one of my favorite segments of the show. It's called Ramadan Away from Home. We'll be speaking to South African expats who are all over the world, and they'll be telling us a bit about what Ramadan feels and looks like for them when they're not in South Africa, and what do they most about being home. And joining us today from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia is Zaid Areff. Zaid, welcome salam, and thank you so much for joining us on Salam Media.
Walaikum salam. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Malaysia, Zaid, how did you find yourself there? How did you get there? What are you doing there so far away from home?
Yeah, so Malaysia is a country that was always on my list as possible options for a future move and to experience. I was working at a snacking company in South Africa for about 9 years, and the opportunity came up to transfer across to the office in KL. And my family and I grabbed that opportunity and have been here for just over 3 years now.
Mm-hmm. And it's Ramadan right now. I'm pretty sure being so far away, it must be really difficult. What does it feel like? A very very auspicious month where all of us would like to be close to all of our loved ones, see them, have iftar with them. How is it for you experiencing Ramadan so far away from home?
Yeah, I think we definitely miss family and friends. I think, as you mentioned, Ramadan is a time where we tend to get together even more frequently than usual back home. So there's definitely a piece of missing home that hits us quite hard. But at the same time, Malaysia is a Muslim majority country, so Ramadan and this time of the year is quite festive all around. There's lots to do. There's lots to see. During the evenings, there's lots to eat as well. Usually, it is, as I mentioned, quite a festive time here. We've also got a nice community of South Africans that are based here now, so we tend to get together as well, going for Tarawih Salah and having some iftars and meeting up later in the evenings as well. It is a bit muted this year, I think, even though we just, in the early days compared to the couple of years before with the situation in Gaza and Palestine. Malaysia, very much like South Africa, is very pro-Palestinian, and it has led to this month being a bit more about reflection and a bit more muted, maybe than we've seen in the years before.
And looking at just the proceedings of Ramadan, I'm pretty sure there were some traditions that you'd follow here at home. Have you taken some of those to Malaysia that you share with your family, just to be a bit closer, to your South African roots, and maybe to teach, if you have kids, what Ramadan would have looked like and felt like if they were here in South Africa?
Yes, for sure. I think, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I think iftar and that meal is something that has been a big part of all of our lives since the time we were young kids and started fasting. So we do tend to have some of the items that maybe we only have during the month of Ramadan back home. So that's probably the first introduction that the children have had to what it's like back home. And I think my kids are still quite young, but something that was quite important to me was, meeting my father at the masjid in the evenings. We used to meet for Tarawih Salah every night when we lived in separate homes. So one day, inshallah, when my son is a bit older, we'll be able to continue that tradition, and he'll be able to come along with me.
And what are some of the the Malaysian traditions that you have adopted also, and made part of your family, and you want to see your children obviously growing up and adopting also?
Yeah, so something that's a lot bigger here maybe than it is back home. I know that in South Africa, a lot of the men would go to the masjid for iftar, and would then maybe only go home after Maghrib. It is very much a family orientated atmosphere around the masjid here during iftar. So you have families, husbands, wives, as well as kids going to the masjid from before Maghrib, having the iftar and then staying on until after Taraweeh. And it is, again, quite festive, quite happy. The kids are welcomed in the masjid and in the surrounding areas. So it is something that we've noticed and we've picked up on here, and that we do quite enjoy doing as a family.
It's not a secret that as South Africans, climatize very very difficultly. We don't find it easy, to adapt to other countries because of just how unique and diverse our country is, and you just don't find that anywhere else in the world. How difficult was, for you to acclimatize to Malaysia, and what are some of the culture shocks, that you've experienced since you got there?
Yeah, so we moved in 2021, so it was still very much during the pandemic period. And moving countries, I suppose, is not the easiest thing at the best of times. It added some challenges for sure, having to move during those times. So initially, very tough. Weren't able to meet people, weren't able to meet even the other South Africans that were here. So kind of had to find our own feet for quite a long time, which was quite tricky. Alhamdulillah, we've now been here just over 3 years, and it is home to us, or home away from home, rather. For us. In terms of anything that were culture shocks, I think just being in a big city like this, it can be overwhelming. Just the sheer number of people, it's quite an assault on the senses. Malaysia is quite a diverse country as well, so you've got the Malay population at about 60-65%, and then quite a large Chinese population, followed by a portion of the population that's originally from India as well. So, an assault on the senses for sure. Very busy city, very different to, my hometown of Brits where I grew up back home, which was, a small little country town. So, big, very different, very vibrant and busy, but something that again we've learned to love as well.
I'm pretty sure if you're from Johannesburg, it would have been a bit easier. Eh?
Yeah, I mean, look, we did live in Joburg for a few years before we moved, but small time boy at heart, probably always there. But at the same time, it's part of the unique experience, and it's something that I count myself very fortunate for. For our children to be experiencing, to be growing up in this melting pot of culture and people. I think it could only help them in their understanding of the world one day.
And just last before I let you go, just take us through your day. From the moment you wake up right until you break your fast. How does that look like? And was it similar to when you were back home here in South Africa?
Yeah, I think in most cases it would be. So, we don't get a lot of variation in the sunrise time here throughout the year. So your
Mm,
Fajr time and your Seri time, no matter which month of the year it is, tends to be the same. So at the moment we have Seri ending at just about 6 a.m. So then commuting to work a couple of hours later to be at the office at around 9. We do normally finish work a bit later here than South Africa.
mm,
It's not at 9 to 5, it's more of a 9 to 6. However, in Ramadan, because the majority of the population is observing and keeping their fasts, everyone tends to leave the office a little earlier, so about 4:30 p.m. So able to beat some big city traffic if I'm driving, occasionally taking the train as well, which would be quite different to back home.
mm,
And then again, between iftar at about 7:30 p.m. and Tarawih starting about an hour later. We do tend to get home a bit later here, so your Tarawih is a bit more of an extended event, I think, than it is maybe back home. There's some rituals like additional zikr and so on that go on in the masjid. So you tend to get home past 11 p.m. But again, very fulfilling, very enjoyable to be in the masjid during those times.
And just lastly, before I let you go, some of the things that you miss about being back home during Ramadan, what would those be?
Yeah, I think, like we said earlier, just being able to get together with extended family, seeing everyone, sharing those happy moments together, and then again, friends. I think we tend to spend a lot of time, particularly with the guys, as we're going out to the masjid at night. You get a few more hours with the boys, so
Mm,
definitely missing family, and definitely missing some of my friends as well.
mm. No, I think we're going to leave it there, Zaid. Thank you so much, for giving us insight on what being a South African feels and looks like in Malaysia during Ramadan. We wish you and your family, all the best during this time, and really, really appreciate you joining us. Welcome, Sam. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah. Thank you.
There we go. Another South African there chatting to us right in Malaysia. He's giving us insight on what Ramadan looks like for him and his family. I think really, really privileged there, to have, as he said, other South Africans and, Malaysia being a predominantly Muslim country. If you are a South African, you are anywhere in the world, doesn't matter, Europe, Asia, America, and you want to give us insight on what Ramadan looks like for you and how different is it, from being back home, just give us a shout, or, you can send us a DM on our social media. You can just search Salam Media on various social media platforms. And we want to hear your story. We want to hear what it feels like and looks like for you wherever you might be in the world. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do Gaza in numbers, where we give you an insight of all the destruction and all the casualties that are currently, being perpetuated by Israeli occupier forces in Gaza. All this and more after this.